next bylaw item, which is a series of motions regarding proposed amendments to the municipal plan bylaw regarding the Housing Accelerator Fund program. So the first motion, if there's a member of council willing to make that motion. I would also suggest, if it's a council's intention to ultimately not move forward with these, I'd ask in a friendly way that somebody make the motion so they can be defeated rather than leaving the business unfinished, which does create ambiguity moving forward.
Until next year. Until after the council's in and they choose if it's the board they want to make, then they can educate themselves on it. Yeah, a motion to table could be put on the floor.
Just a question, follow up on that question, because there's an element of this, the housing and regional commercial, that we need to have an outcome on based on other plans the city hasn't worked. If we tabled this whole package, will that eliminate the ability to move that, bring that back forward again as its own individual item?
It is part of the existing bylaw that would be considered, so I do believe it would impede that process.
Yeah. So I think it would be better to defeat everything now so that we could bring the one piece back by itself rather than leave it on the table for months. So do I have someone who would be willing to make the motion? Councillor DePlacy.
I move that bylaw number 110-49, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 110, City of Miramichi zoning bylaw, be now read a second time by title in both official languages.
Thank you. And if I have a seconder for the motion, Councillor Arsenault, thank you. So on the question, Councillor Arsenault.
Thanks. So the file's been challenging for sure since the start, and I do want to acknowledge that there's been a tremendous amount of work done by staff and council and the public for attending the open house, the public presentation, the public hearing. Community engagement, and more importantly, conversation is critical around all of the projects that we want to move forward. So over the last few months, I've heard from many citizens about their concerns regarding the Housing Accelerator Fund, and I see quite a few citizens here, which it's always nice to have visitors in the chamber because it's usually just us. And I've gotten many emails, and I've read every social media message, and listened to the calls and the people who stopped me in the grocery store. I've heard it said many times that $3.2 million isn't very much money, and I do, on that point, disagree. I think it would be quite important for us over the next few years, and I do recognize that it's a significant value, but I have struggled with other aspects of the funding agreement, particularly that the federal agreement requires that one-size-fits-all approach. They require that we accept the 4 units as of right across the board or get no funding at all, which is a struggle for me. As I've listened to everyone share their thoughts on this, I believe that approach misses something fundamental, which is that, of course, we are unique, as are most communities across the board, but we want to retain that as much as possible. So while I do understand that I'm lucky to sit in this seat, and I might have made a different decision in my own life if it were up to me, I want to be the voice of the people that I have heard over and over and over again, and that most of the community that I've heard from do not support, and so I can't support the motion tonight.
Thanks, Councillor. Thank you. Okay, sorry, Councillor King, were you putting your hand up there?
I guess so.
I had my light on, but that's okay.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
Oh, well, everyone will get a chance, but sorry, I saw him first, Councillor, so if you don't mind.
Sure, we can go to him.
Yeah.
You want to go or no matter? Anyway.
That's the maritime standoff right there.
Anyway, I want to thank Beryl for her kind words. We looked at the air to 4,000.
Oh, you just got to put the light back on, Councillor.
at 4,771 on R2 that it affects, and the R1s is another 2,000 some. So roughly 43% of the R2s lack full service, primary in Loganville, Taintville, Nelson, and Nordine. I like to have the funding, no funding at all, like what the federal government, what Vera was speaking about, it's tying our hands. If we got more money, it would be great, but not for this situation with different ideas. I think we should not vote for this because of the simple reason it affects too many people, and I won't be supporting the issue. And look at Bathurst. Bathurst got a bunch, $3 million something dollars, and they can do whatever they want with theirs, but we can't. They tied our hands on. So that's one of the main reasons I'm not voting in favor of this, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doyle.
Thank you. I share Councillor King's sentiments from the night that we had the public hearing at the Kin Centre. We got the message loud and clear, and quite frankly, most people don't understand. I don't know what zone I'm in. I don't know if I'm R1 or R2. So I don't think there should be any distinction between this, for this bylaw. They're residential neighborhoods and have been that way for 30, 40, 50 years. And to go in and change that whole fabric of that neighborhood, and their equity is tied up in that, and everybody's equity is tied up in their house. And I don't think that a lot of the neighborhoods don't know if they're R1 or R2. So I haven't been supporting this motion since the night of the public hearing, and I stand by that tonight.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Richard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I want to start with acknowledging all the work that's gone on into this, and I know that staff and council's put a lot of hours and a lot of work, and I'm certainly appreciative of that. One of the things that I wanted to bring up is I do agree with Councillor Arsenault in the sense that this program is pitched to us as a one-size-fits-all approach, and we, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I think we're in council, and I asked the question in terms of to our asset management steering committee, you know, what their input was or whether they were consulted in this process. Now I understand that it's a different kind of process when it comes to applying, but I think that we need to keep in mind that when we're giving away the rights of our people, we need to make sure that, you know, we do keep the rights and the voice of the people that are on our important committees and our asset management team. Like, a big part of the concern that I had was if we approve this and funding goes forward, do we have the infrastructure to support rapid growth as much as it could happen? But fundamentally, it comes back to, for me, it's been from day one. I looked it up even today just to make sure that I hadn't lost everything through the context. But the democratic country, the government, is there to serve the people, to create laws that are fair, and they're there to protect the rights and the freedoms of the people. And what we're asked to do here is to give up some of those rights and freedoms in exchange for a sum of money, and those rights, or I guess, or the power goes to our federal government. And I'll never go on record in saying or approving a motion that takes the right away from our citizens when it comes to what's happening in their neighborhoods. So I'm against it.
Thank you, Councillor Richard. I'll just, Councillor Duplessis.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess procedurally I'll have to support this motion as I made the motion. And I think I'm probably a little bit more nuanced than some of my colleagues in that I was in a position, and these are so tied together that procedurally, legally, we are not in a position to pull them apart, which I think was a mistake. But I was in a position to support an R2 elevating the as of right from currently 3 units to 4 units. In the R2 zone, I was not in favor of the R1 zone. really nothing to do with the funding that is put on the table. I think allowing for an R2 zone to go from a basement apartment and a garage unit, and allowing then to add a additional unit in the form of a granny suite for in-laws, grandparents, children with disabilities makes a lot of sense. It's low-hanging fruit for us in this housing market. But unfortunately, we are not allowed procedurally to pull those two things apart. So I will graciously allow for this motion to seemingly be defeated. But I would like for the record to indicate that I was against the R1 zone, but saw good land use planning in allowing the R2 to add an additional unit in a zone that's already allowing 3 units. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. And thank you for making the motion, despite the fact that you otherwise wouldn't have supported it. I do think we've had this happen a couple of times where it's just much better to give an answer than to leave things lingering. I also won't support the motion tonight, and I want to just echo from my perspective some of the frustrations procedurally with what's happened. It's been a transitional period for us in a number of ways, and it was my understanding from the beginning that we would have the ability to take some parts of these motions and not others, specifically the regional commercial component. I never understood that it was going to be an all or nothing, and I don't think that there was much reservation or opposition to the regional commercial, and we've already built that into our planning around the multiplex. We've issued a public RFP that includes housing in that area. So I look forward to that coming back by itself to council. That will have to be a new process, but it's work that needs to get finished either way. And I do share the sentiments of my colleagues too, that and the frustrations around how the HALF program is structured. It has felt unfair from the beginning that another community an hour up the road was able to have their funding without this restriction, or as we'll call it now, a poison pill. And the reality is that we have been doing very well as a community at building the new housing that we need. We have been building the new housing at twice the national average, in fact, when every community in the country is trying to do that. We've already been very successful. And so to the federal government, is this about control or about outcomes? And if it's about outcomes, then, regardless of what happens tonight, we will go back into a new negotiation with the federal government and try to keep as much of this money as possible. And I hope that they will see what we have already achieved and how 8 or 7 out of the 8 initiatives in our HALF application with great detail have no controversy in the community and objectively will help us. And so I hope that because we will reject the one that they were trying to make us do tonight, they will still allow us to keep some of that money and do some of the other initiatives that will have a positive impact in our community. That's my hope publicly, and that's what I'll say to them in the outreaches that will come in the days ahead. So thank you to the public for engaging on this matter, and to council as well for the process, as flawed as it's been. And that's where I stand on this one. Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate that. I will be as brief as I can here tonight. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the work of staff. It's been a long, arduous file, that of yourself too, Your Worship. I know growth and housing are what gets you out of bed each and every morning, among many other things, and you have represented as well in the higher offices and in pursuit of these funds. Every measurable metric would indicate that we should take this, and that $3.2 million, who says no to that? And the experts would say, take it and don't be so crazy. But sometimes the experts are the folks we call our neighbors, and here we are tonight in front of many of them, and we've heard them loud and clear. They've taken great pride in their community, their homes, their neighborhoods. And I will not support this tonight, and I'll take the side of those who care deeply about their community with a note to the federal government that, this doesn't end for us here. We're going to be in pursuit, as you say, of more funds, and this is about outcomes, and hopefully they can join us in our path forward.
Councillor Summers.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to bring us back, and I'll try to be as quick as I can, much like Deputy Mayor. But everybody has spoken very well on this up to this point, I believe. The truth is, when this process started, we had a working group that was hopeful in round one of the half of seeing upwards of $12 or $13 million. I hope I'm getting that figure correct. But the reality was we applied for that. We put our best foot forward long before we ever got to this part of the process. But ultimately, we were rejected by the federal government. And it wasn't until round two of the half came our way that we were told that we should reapply. And I know we've talked about whether $3.5 million is a lot of money. Some say it is, some say it isn't. But in reality, it's not even close to the original goal, so to speak. So I think that's part of the factor as well. But I mean, in terms of R4, or even some of the things we're talking about with ADUs, R1 zoning, R2 zoning, at the very beginning of this second process, I guess I'll call it, I was an A on this from the get-go. I was told at length that we did need to consult the public to complete the process, which we did. I was quite confident in what we would hear from the public. And once we got to the Kin Center, we essentially heard, I would say, from about 99% of that public, precisely what I was predicting would transpire. So I guess, I feel like this is working out the way that it did for a reason. I've lauded your efforts a number of times, Mr. Mayor, or our efforts as a group. Quite proud of some of the advances our community and our city has made in terms of growth and development. But as I mentioned here a while back, I'm proud to see Miramichi grow, but I still want to see the Miramichi that I grew up in. And at some point, you need to pump the brakes on some of this stuff. And I think that's where we had gotten to with this. And I can understand where Councillor Doyle was coming from with the recommendation of, leaving this in the next council's hand. I truthfully don't really want to see that happen, because if I'm sitting in those chairs over there this evening and I hear that we're going to defeat this tonight and we're all going to get standing ovations from our friends at the back of the room just to, well, yeah, almost everyone, sorry. I carry enough anxiety in my day-to-day as it is, and if I'm those people, I don't want to hear that, hey, there's going to be a new council and we'll see you back here next year. Like, I really don't want to entertain that a little bit. I guess once next May comes and I'm not sitting in this chair, then I won't have much say on that when that time comes. But I guess in a nutshell, what I'm getting at is we were told that we needed to consult the public. We heard from the public loud and clear. I'm happy that you guys all heard it the same way that I did. There's one thing in these notes or in these memos that is irritating me, and I just need to get it off my chest. In regards to ADUs, I've seen this like 5 or 6 times on my paper in front of me about how since we've changed some of the bylaws in 2023, fewer than 10 ADUs have been built citywide. And when I read that, it's almost as though it's trying to tell me that not many of these things are happening anyway. And maybe I'm misreading it, but to me it reads as, even if we approve for as of right, don't worry about it, because there's not going to be a whole lot of them happening. And truthfully, when I got elected to sit in this chair in 2016, I know the cliche is you can't please everybody, but you should be trying to, look out for the best interests of all of your residents that you represent, not 95% of them, not 98% of them. And truthfully, when I see that, that would be like me looking around the table here right now and going, don't worry, it doesn't affect you 8. Oh, sorry, I guess I'll pick on you, Chad, since you set that up. It affects you, and sorry about your luck. Like, that to me really shouldn't be in this report, because to me, if it affected one of these people at the back of the room and the other, I don't know, 25 of you get off scot-free, I still wouldn't feel very good about the one person that I didn't do much of a job for, right? And I don't believe that classifies as NIMBYism. I think when you're sitting in these chairs, you're supposed to do the best of your ability to help all of your residents, not just a certain percentage of them or a certain area or a certain zone. Sorry, I guess I'm rambling, but I'm nay on this evening. I'm nay on this hypothetically in the future. Thanks, I think I'm done for now.
Thanks, Councillor. Okay, so, okay.
I have to go, I guess. Yeah, I'm the same way. I guess at the end of the day, I'm happy we went through the public process. I'm happy to see the public got engaged. It's not always fun going to meetings and reading bylaws, but I think in this process, we did it right. And we did find out what the public wanted, you know, and I'm happy that all the council, or mostly all the council, has listened here this evening. I'm just teasing, Chad. But going forward, I think it's very important for us. The city of Toronto's in the same predicament right now. They got 1 month left for their 6-month to get another $30 million. They're talking, you know, tens of millions of dollars. We're talking 3.2. Right now, they're telling them they're going to be cut 25%. We're being told we're being cut 100%. So, not sure where it lays, but I would like to make sure that our department keeps watching that. I don't want to see any other city treated any different just because Toronto has more votes at the federal government than the lonely city of Miramichi. I think we're all very important in this country, so I'll be voting nay on this, and I hope that we do find out in the future that the new government has come back with some more money for us that we deserve.
Thanks, Councillor. Okay, well, everyone, we've batted around, as they say. Go Jays. And we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Well, and opposed? Nay. The motion carries, and just again to the public, note that Councillor Duplessis must vote in favor because he was kind enough to make the motion. Now, to my colleagues on council, we do need to do the same thing with the next motion because they're two halves of the same whole, and then the other 4 would be dropped. So on proposed motion number 2, if I have someone that would make that motion as well. I'll make it. Okay, Councillor Arsenault, seconded by Councillor Harris on the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Okay. So there we go. So we do not proceed with the other 6 motions because they would only be required if that was moving forward. So thank you on that.